people with 1 million or more followers make the least amount of money from social media content. The people who make the most amount of money from social media content have between two. Welcome to the Create with Charles podcast, where we dive into the truth about turning your passions into profit. And we help creatives and creative entrepreneurs break limiting mindsets that hold them back from achieving their dreams. My name is Charles Reynolds. With me is my brother, Matthew Fraser. Matthew Fraser is an accomplished videographer earning NAACP awards. I've had the pleasure of knowing him both personally first and professionally. We've got the chance to do some really cool work together. He's actually the guy that got me started doing video. I was just taking pictures and just hanging out with this guy. You know, he got me into filmmaking. So I appreciate him. Matt, anything you want to just tell the people?
Man, I appreciate you having me on your podcast. Really had the pleasure of working with you on a lot of them projects and just talking about video production, you know, personally outside of this.
I mean, we talk about a lot. I mean, the whole gamut, family, you know, the married profession, life, married life, you know, so we talk a lot, guys. So this is going to be a dope conversation. I'm excited for it. Just jumping right in, man. You know, one of the things that I struggle with is balancing consuming content versus creating content. I'm like, I'll get on Instagram and I'll be like, look, I'm gonna just, you know, I'm just gonna be on here for 10, 20 minutes. And then that turns into like 3 hours. Yeah. My question for you is like, how are you like balancing consuming content and creating content? Is it getting in the way of you creating content? Like, what's your experience?
Yeah, I struggle with that every day. Yeah. You know, sometimes I don't know how much I scroll until like I look up at the end of the day and I don't have anything to like prove for like me being on social media. So, and I know the videos that I can be making, you know, don't take as long as I've been on social media. So I still try to balance it out. You know, I got this, what do you call it, the timer on Instagram.
I got the same thing on my phone, and I'll put it there for like an hour, and then it goes off, and then I just override it, and I just keep going. It's like, it didn't really do anything for me. I guess I don't got the discipline.
Me either, And I'm always looking for inspiration, but like I don't need that much inspiration to actually produce something. So, but yeah, I think I got enough inspiration to produce and make stuff. I just need to make the thing happen. Yeah.
The thing I think about too is like, if I consume too much, do I start to just copy other people, like subconsciously? Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's too much consumption actually preventing me from being authentic with my content.
Yeah. It's funny. I was so inspired by this dude named 𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤, right? Okay. And when I was in college, he was going around the world like, he was a skateboarder too. Yeah. And so I'm like, yo, this is dope. Like he's traveling, he's making travel accessible. Man, I was so inspired by him that I was traveling too. And so we went to some of the same places, not out of like being intentional about going to the same places.
Oh, you weren't stalking him? Right?
No, I wasn't stalking him. Nah, it sounds like it, but I wasn't stalking him. But like he was in Berlin and it was like, how do you say this? He was giving me an itinerary of places to go before I even got there, right?
Got it.
I was so inspired by him. So I started create my own content because I was like, I'm traveling, but I have my own twist to it. Okay. But I was so stuck in looking at his stuff, I took away from being myself on my own content. So it took me years to kind of get to where I am now. But yeah, I think consuming too much and knowing that you're consuming too much, you can identify when it's time to be you. Yeah.
They say good artists copy, great artists still. So I mean, I know that we're all influenced by many things, you know, and I think what makes us unique is bringing those things together. I just want to be clear. We're not saying like it's bad to have inspiration, but at some point, like
you gotta add you in.
You gotta add you.
Yeah.
You gotta add you in there. I know for me, how I get over, or how I'm going to start having a better balance is just setting boundaries on social media. And you know, I tried the boundary with that little time limit thing on app. It didn't work. So what I've been doing recently is just dedicating one day for research, inspiration on social media, and then spending the remainder 6 days actually creating and not going on the platform except to post. Another thing I do is take the app off my phone and I'll just use it on the website, on the browser. Oh. That way, I'm not going to be scrolling Instagram on my desktop. You know what I'm saying? So when I got a post or something, I'll do it on the browser and just have it off my phone so I don't have that, you know, struggle. And whenever I go to like Instagram, it's not there. Right. And it's a reminder I deleted it.
I'm trying
so those are some things that I do to like set that boundary with Instagram, because it got to be set.
Yeah, because otherwise you're gonna be doing that forever.
Yeah, I was telling you earlier, like last night I had this thought, and it was like, man, I spend so much of my time watching other people living their lives at the expense of living my own. And that hurt me.
Yeah.
Like that's right. That hurt me. It was almost like God dropped that on me. Like, bro, like I created you for a purpose. Walk in it. Your purpose isn't to watch other people walk in their purpose.
Yeah. And that's another thing. Even when you seeing people walking their purpose and you trying to emulate, it's like
ain't your purpose.
Yeah, that ain't your purpose. That's not your identity. Like you're unique.
Yeah.
You have like special things that God gave you. So he wants you to maximize on that.
I think what it takes is that a lot of people don't sit down and take the time to think and to pray and to let God reveal to them what their purpose is. And that's some of the things that I do in my coaching program. I help creators and solopreneurs get clarity on creating content, who they serve, what their purpose is. And that's the first thing that we do. You can't start creating content till you know why you're creating content. Who do you serve? What are you here for? And then once you have clarity on that, content ideas make sense and they flow.
Yeah. What if like you start this, like you got your idea, like, you know, anybody start on Instagram, they just post some photos.
Yeah.
But like, you kind of get your niche, but then like life happens or like you find another interest. And how do you like navigate through that?
For me, that's all part of like personal branding. And it's like people want to see all of it. That's what makes you uniquely you. Bringing it all together, it makes you the niche. Instead of trying to find a topic, you are the niche. And people want to see that. They want to see you be authentically you, see what you're interested in, see what you're doing. And that's going to make them connect with you and your content and be willing to receive the value that you're giving them through your content.
Yeah, because you know, my struggle sometimes is, probably for some other folks too, when you look at brands, right? When you look at like Coca-Cola, you look at Pepsi. I feel like there's no face. Like when I think of brand, I think of those folks. But I guess as social media comes along, branding takes on a different a face or a different approach.
But thinking about those kind of brands, what do? They get popular faces to represent their products.
That's true.
And when you think about like brands like that, I was just reading something yesterday. It's like, even with their content, they're trying to create a feeling. And they're not really trying to like, hey, here's 10 ways to fix your lighting. Their content is about creating feelings. And that's what your content also needs to be about, reproducing a feeling in someone else that maybe you felt. And that's part of, you know, creating authentic content. So I was doing some research and it's like, it's a psychological fact that people are attracted to faces. It's like from a baby on up, we're attracted to faces. So when you show your face on social media, it gives you a deeper connection with your audience than if you weren't there.
That's true, because even now, rest in peace, Michael Jackson. When I think about Pepsi, I think about Michael Jackson, right? Yeah, that's interesting you say that, because now I'm thinking about brands in a different way. There's a book that I'm reading called Story, which talks about filmmaking and story development. You have to have like character development, so you can be attached to the person as they go along through the story. And so
that's crazy you say that, because that's what Logan Paul did. I was watching a YouTube video, and what Logan Paul, like his content on YouTube, he's big on character development. So what they would do is they would go places, him, his brother, and the other guy, they would just be authentically them. And it was like, that was creating character development in the minds of the audience. So like, I think they had a video where there was a chair. And it's like, okay, what are y'all gonna do with this chair? And they all did whatever they wanted with this chair. And you got to see the differences in who they were and their character. That's an approach that even YouTubers are taking to get people to like connect with their content.
It's crazy because I never liked being on camera, right? And so when I was doing my travel series, I never put myself in front of the camera until the last trip to Tokyo, right?
Wow.
And it took a lot for me to get to that point. Because I thought people just wanted to see the place. But people want to know your story in the place, how you felt, like you said. And what you learn, what challenges you kind of like face. Because you told me about that too, like story development. So that was one of our past conversations. You
know, one of the things I struggle with creating content is creative blocks. I'll sit down, you know, at my computer and try to, you know, put together an idea, and 3 hours later, nothing happens. So like, what are you doing to overcome creator's block?
I pretty much try my best to overcome creator's block by stepping out my boundaries. So kayaking, hiking, and we got a training like every Tuesday and Thursday. So do a little bit of training.
Get active.
Yeah, a little bit of active. And that just decompresses me a lot. I feel like every time I come off the kayak, I'm a new person, right? So I'm able to think a little bit more, just relax when I come back to my like creative space. And then just being inspired by life around me. So whatever that may be. And then looking on websites like Behance and other art websites that kind of, I'm able to see things in a different light, see art, see graphic design in a different light that I haven't before. So that helps just expand my mind a little bit.
Yeah, I think for me, I do some of the same things. I think for me though, it's like I have to figure out why I'm having creator's block. If I'm like stressed out, if I'm frustrated with other things in life and I'm bringing it into my creative space, I'll do the same thing. Like I'll sit there and do some push-ups, you know what I'm saying? Or I'll go on a walk with, my wife and Polo, my dog, just like you said, to kind of clear your mind, get your mind off of whatever it is that's bothering you so you can come back with a fresh mind. Another thing I do for inspiration is I will do copy work, where I'll look at another creator's script and I'll just write it down. I'll handwrite it for 15 minutes and then I'll start writing my own stuff. And so one, it kind of helps me experiment with like different ways to write and script, because with scripting, you gotta script it in like your voice. It can't be like how they teach you how to write in school. Right. It's more so like how I talk is how I write. So that gets me in the flow of like writing it. I call it my internet voice. And then I'll go on like stuff like Behance and things like that too, to get like inspiration, especially for like graphic design or like my video editing, like how I'm gonna approach this, how am I gonna shot list this, like things like that. Frame set. I go on there. Frame set is dope for seeing like for storyboarding. So yeah, I use some tools like that too for inspiration as well. But for me, it's all about like what's going on with me. Like why can't I create right now?
So this is a new thing that I started trying, right? You were talking about writing another creative stuff down. So what I started doing, you put me on ChatGPT, but what I started doing is like talking while we're doing whatever.
I do that too.
And then I'll take the text
and you transcribe it.
But I would tell ChatGPT, take this, make it into a script, create a beginning, middle, and end, or make it flow a little bit better. And that's what has like helped me because I struggle sometimes with writing scripts.
Even with like, so for me, one more thing I was going to talk about was with perfectionism. Sometimes perfectionism gets in the way of it, or perfectionism is my creator's block. And so I realized I just got to do it. And so I just put out something that's probably going to be, terrible. I step away for a few hours a day, come back, and then I edit and make it good. So like the expectation or the expectation that you have to make something good right now is something that I had to overcome. I shot a video, I'm lighting candles and watering plants. Bro, I just shot random B-roll and then I said I'm gonna figure out how to connect it later.
For real?
I had no idea for that. And I was like, oh, maybe I could just show different things I'm doing to make this look cinematic. And then I just added overlay text and stuff like that. But I didn't have that idea. I just said, I'm just going to work on my filmmaking skills.
So do you feel like can one of your blocks be pressure? Like you pressure to
I think that's the perfectionism. That could be it. But or it could be another thing, like feeling this constant pressure, like I gotta like make something and put it out.
Because when you said that, I'm like, I already feel pressure. Like, I'm like, am I putting this out for, because people talk about you need to be consistent every day. Post twice a day. Man.
That could be one. I didn't even think about that. The internet voice is telling you like, bro, you got to post 4 reels a day, 5 stories a day.
That's what got me
crazy.
Locked up, creatively. So I was trying to do stuff like that before too. And I like what you did too, especially the keys. You were pushing keys or something like that. That depth of field was really dope.
And that was just me being in a creative space. I didn't know what I was just filming myself typing the keyboard, and I was like, what if I typed in a message to people? It just happened in the moment. Just me practicing my skill set.
That's something I need to work on. Is like, there's a lot of videos that I have, like I told you before. I got like 400 like ideas in my notes, and
I can top that. I got over 1,000.
Man, so I don't feel bad.
And that just overwhelming to me. Like, I think having too many ideas is making me like prevents me from creating.
Yeah, but I feel like you should have a goal, like maybe one of these a week, because I look at like some of the videos and I'm like, okay, perfectionism. Yeah. It gotta be shot this way. It gotta reach this amount of people. Yeah. It has to do this. But no, it's just like you working on your skill set and enjoying your life.
Yeah. Real quick, I don't want to forget this thought. To that point, I was reading something or watching something, and it was like the best things happen when you don't have expectation. And so I think that's really what you're saying, is that creating without expectation. And that's what I learned, because this was on Friday, and I just said, I'm gonna create without expectation. That's hard. It's hard. But you got to just do it, right? It's like, all right, I'm just going to spend 30 minutes just creating without expectation. Yeah. And then you be like, yo, what came out of that? It could be some dope stuff.
That's going against my whole spirit, because I feel like everything that I do has to have some form of expectation. Yeah. I was shooting, in my mind, I was shooting B-roll. Yeah. But I'm like, okay, where does this go?
Where's it going to go? Yeah. And not saying you don't have moments where you're intentional about what you're creating. Right. But I think you have to practice also creating without expectation, because that may be where some of your like eureka moments where you're like true originality will come through, and no one's ever seen this before. Yeah. Right. So I think that that's something that creatives, myself included, need to practice, is just creating without expectation. Man, that takes the pressure off.
Yeah, because that's one of them things I gotta digest. Cause man, I think that's where some of my creative block comes from, to be honest.
Yeah, bro. So, you were talking to me earlier about like, creating social media content and feeling you have to put out this thing, but having a desire to incorporate other aspects of your life into your content. Like, do I have to just talk about like social media content? Do I have to just talk about like filmmaking? Can I talk about, I know you do dad content. Can you incorporate that into it? How do you feel about
I struggle with that. Okay. I struggle with that every day. I look at when I open Instagram. Yeah. I look at my feed and I struggle, like, yo, I need to post more travel content, or I need to post video content, because I feel like dad stuff, like people relate to it. Yeah. But it's like I want to do travel too. So, and like I think about Coca-Cola, like they sell Coke products. Yeah. They just strictly Coke. Yeah. But
that was wild. Right? That was wild. They sold Coca-Cola. We ain't trying to get
we ain't promoting nothing else. Yo, so I struggle with adding different aspects of my life. I haven't even, one thing, if you see me posting stories, 9 times out of 10, it doesn't relate to video content or dad content. True. It's probably outdoor content. Yeah. In some kind of way, I'm afraid to put it on my timeline.
But that is one way though, right? Like you don't have to post everything on your timeline. I think, because when you think about Instagram, for example, a lot of people use and interact with stories to get, the authentic you. That's where you can really post the authentic you, right? So that's dope that you're doing that, because that actually, I ain't gonna lie, I be looking through your joints and I'm like, I know Matt was at the skating rink today.
Right.
I was to Mariah, like, I know your whole life. Like, the Instagram stories. About that, it doesn't have to be on your reels. It can just be in your stories, and that's what the stories are for.
But I look at like a year later, right? Yeah. Don't none of that stuff exist.
Well, if you create highlights on Instagram, then people can see it. You see what I'm saying? That's what I did on my page, is that I create highlights for different aspects of things I'm passionate about. So my stories live forever on my page, at least the ones that I want to. Right. So like that's something, that you can do. You should incorporate more yourself in your reels. But I'm just saying, like, Instagram stories is a great way to accomplish that.
Gotcha. Okay, so I don't feel bad. I don't feel that pressure again. Like, because I want to make reels from them.
And you can.
You can. I still got the content. So
it's still there. You know what I'm saying? It's not limited, but I think there's so much pressure on people to have a niche. And one of the things I realized is, like, when you are authentically you and you incorporate all the things that you're passionate about and you care about, you become your own niche. I help creative entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, entrepreneurs turn their passion into profit through social media, building your business through social media. And it's like, there's a lot of people who do that. But how many of them are filmmakers? How many of them produce music?
That's true.
Who have produced music for people like Warner Brothers? How many of them love God and talk about God and can break down the Bible? How many of them, these are all my interests, right? And so by me combining all this stuff, one, the people who resonate with stuff are going to follow me. And that's one thing I want to talk about, is I think people, they want 1 million followers. They want this broad following. But here's the thing, 𝐾𝐨𝐬 They do a State of the Creators report every year. And what they found was that people with 1 million or more followers make the least amount of money from social media content. The people who make the most amount of money from social media content have between 10 and 100,000 followers. The people who follow them, like they know them, they feel like they trust them, they like them, they resonate with them as a person in their content, and they're more willing to buy from them. Yeah. But if you have 1 million followers, you got all kind of people on there. It's not targeted. And so that's one thing, like I teach in my coaching program, and I had to learn myself is like, yo, I don't need to strive. Like, what are my goals? If my goal is to impact people to, make a living from this, my goal isn't to be super broad. My goal is to attract the people who are for me, who God has made for me to help.
Yeah, because that's interesting. I was at a panel at Atlanta Run Club, and this girl said, you'll be surprised that the people with 1,000 followers are getting paid almost the same amount of money as a person with like this large following because they have more control over their audience.
Yeah, they have more connection with the audience.
Yeah, connection. And that's so true. But it's always a fight in my mind because I'm like, yo, 1 million. You see them numbers, it's like 1 million.
Yeah.
1,000.
It's kind of like a celebrity effect. I get it. I think it's like a status thing. Like people see 1 million followers, like, oh, he got 1 million. He must be somebody.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Whole time, like, yo, 𝐾𝐸, when I put a reaction video on my page, when he revealed how much money he makes having all the 1 million followers, it's crazy. Like, I think he made like 1,000 a month.
Real?
From 1 million followers by his own admission.
Yo.
But his goal, his goal wasn't to make money.
Right.
And he says this himself. His goal is to impact people, as many people as he can.
The goal, back to
so it goes back to your goals, right? And this is why I teach in my coaching program about content strategy. Is like, what are your goals? And even before what your goals are, who are you?
That's fact.
Right? Like a lot of people struggle with their purpose. A lot of people struggle with knowing who they serve. And until you get clear on those things, you can't even come up with content ideas. So yeah, that's one of the things that I teach. Is just understanding who you are, who you serve, and then walking in your purpose. And that's kind of where I want to end, because I am a Christian creative entrepreneur. I'm not ashamed of that. I boldly proclaim that. And I think that earlier we talked about watching other people live their purpose at the expense of your own. Right? I think it's important as creative entrepreneurs. God is a creator. He created us to create, and we're in our purpose when we create.
That's facts.
We're not in our purpose when we just consume, right? And so
live on somebody else's life.
Yeah, so we got to create, and that's why I think it's in everybody to create something. My last question to you is, how are you able to be present doing what you enjoy? Because sometimes we live so far in the future, working on the outcome, that we don't actually enjoy living in our purpose, creating in our purpose.
It's really atmosphere. So taking the pressure off of me. Through somebody else's lens too, because that's another thing that kind of hinders me, is like, I wonder what this person thinks about this content, and also me doing the content. And my goal this year for my birthday was, I need to stop living through other people's lenses who don't even know me, you know what I'm saying, who don't even care about me in the long run. So one thing is I started doing is, if I'm at my office at home, playing selection, you know what I'm saying? It's like a 2-hour long mix. Getting something that I like to eat, and creating an atmosphere, creating a vibe, and figuring out what I like and what I like to do. And just go ahead and start going with the creative process and moving forward.
Yeah, I think for me, that's one thing. Last night, as I was preparing for this podcast, I struggled with is being present and just enjoying what I do. And I think for me, we talked about creating without expectations. That was like a moment where I just enjoyed it. Just taking that pressure off, not worrying about the outcome, not worrying about what anybody thinks. Just like being in the moment. Hey man, I appreciate you, bro. This was a dope conversation. I think more people need to hear this kind of talk, this kind of thing.
What's up?
Yeah, so just real quick, plug yourself.
Matthew Fraser, you can find me on Instagram, 𝐾𝐸𝐤. And you can also find me Passport Destination, Passport DST on Instagram. And you can also find me working with Charles, doing some video projects. So
I want to appreciate y'all for taking the time to watch this podcast, Create with Charles podcast, episode number 1. I think this was a dope start. You guys can follow me at Create with Charles on all platforms. Until next time, peace.